Aha! Welcome back. You're inside the nest. Nate Wangler alongside Ian Kauffman and Luke Schrock. Take two with both of these guys. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Wonderful. It's warmer temperatures outside. The ice storm made all the trees look so freaking cool on campus. So I'm doing good.
Yeah, I mean, just dodging icicles and tree branches falling because of the weight of the ice. But other than that, I'm doing pretty great.
Yeah,
I'm still
looks
I'm
like
still
Narnia out there, man.
I know. I'm still
Never
shocked that
thought.
the trees
I
actually
went to
fell.
Cornerstone one day, came back, and then I went to Narnia the next day.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. So not you get a snow day, and then you come back, and now you're just going to some Wonderland school.
The best of both worlds.
Yes.
So you walk through your wardrobe over
pretty
break or
grand.
something, or
I don't know what
did you walk through your wardrobe through break or something, or what happened?
the analogy's over. It was over. It's done.
All right, all right, bye.
It's a great day to be Golden Eagle. Let's get you your 1 minute recap.
Okay, so baseball had a game in Indianapolis against Taylor University where they got swept in both games, 3-1 and 3-0. And then the women's basketball team lost their senior night game 89-64, while the men won 87-68 against U of M Dearborn in their senior nights.
So, today was a trade deadline in the NBA. Reason why I have Ian Kauffman in is because he's our NBA expert extraordinaire. So without further ado, let's send it over to Kauffman's Corner for 2 minutes around the association.
So the Lakers and Pelicans have been talking throughout the trade deadline and actually offered Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Candavius Caldwell-Pope, Josh Hart, Zubac, and 2 first-round picks for Anthony Davis and Solomon Hill, which was eventually rejected, and they haven't been in trade talks in the last 24 hours. The Lakers have also traded Svitalsva Mikhaluk and a pick for Reggie Bullock from the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons will trade Stanley Johnson to the Bucks for Thon Maker. The Clippers are sending Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic and Mike Scott for Landry Shamet, Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, and a 2020 first-round pick, and Miami's 2021 unprotected first-round pick, and 2 second-round picks. So that's a very detailed pick in favor of the Sixers because they got Tobias Harris. The Lakers have agreed to trade Svalia. I've already said that one. The Raptors have traded Malachi Richardson, Toronto's 2022 second-round pick, and the draft rights to Emir Predalic to the Sixers for cash considerations. Miami is doing a swap with Phoenix, Ryan Anderson, in trade with Tyler Johnson. The Knicks and Enes Kanter will work on a buyout that will release him from the team. The Rockets, Kings, and Cavs complete a 3-team trade that will send Iman Shumpert to the Rockets. The Wizards are trading Otto Porter Jr. for the Bulls' Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis. The Wizards will also receive a 2023 second-round pick. The Wizards have inquired about Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. Charlotte is still favorite to land Gasol. This was news from yesterday around noon, but the news has changed because Gasol is now headed to the Raptors. Toronto is planning to send Jonas Valanciunas, Delon Wright, C.J. Miles, and a 2024 second-round pick to the Grizzlies for Marc Gasol. Also, the Wizards are trading Markieff Morris to the Pelicans for Wesley Johnson. The Mavs have decided to trade Harrison Barnes mid-game to the Kings for Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph.
That was a
Um,
fascinating story.
the Mavericks are expected to waive Zach Randolph for cap space. And that is all the news that we have, except for the last piece of information, which is the Lakers have traded Michael Beasley and Ivica Zubac to the Clippers for Mike Muscala. So a lot has happened around the league, and the trade deadline was at 3 o'clock. So as of right now, no big name superstars have moved like Anthony Davis.
And my suspicion is that Davis. I'm glad you mentioned that at the end. I don't think Davis is moving during this trade deadline. I think he's staying. He's probably going to be there till the end of the year. But here's the thing that really kind of like shocks me about what's going on in the NBA right now. Well-run organizations, whether it be sports, whether it be business, um, anywhere else you can imagine what a well-run organization looks like, things don't leak. Critical information to the way that you do business just doesn't leak. I worked a summer internship this past summer with the West Michigan Whitecaps. They had Cody Clemens, son of the late great Roger Clemens, who played on the team. And so naturally, while he's playing, everyone's going, okay, when's Dad showing up? When am I going to get to see one of the greatest pitchers to ever touch a baseball? When is he showing up to the game? And me, having the whole day to just practice innings because I was going to go broadcast a game down in Midland, Michigan, had the wonderful, wonderful misfortune of running in to Roger Clemens. I walked in on a suite that he was standing in. I'm like, dear Lord, that's the guy. Shake hands with him. I mean, I'm a 21-year-old kid. I'm just trying to get some practice innings in so that I can go call a game in Midland, Michigan. I walk out of the room. I only spend about 2 minutes with him. And I go back to the studio to where we were broadcasting, calling the game. And I was so excited that I told my broadcaster, the lead broadcaster, okay, that's fine. But then I had the genius idea of telling the video guy, hey, Roger Clemens is in the building. And guess who got a hold of that information? The media. And what does the media do when they have information like that?
They'll blow it up.
They swarm like bees. You want to know what concerns me about the Lakers and the LeBron James experiment? Magic Johnson, being the celebrity that he is, being the guy that he is, everyone loves Magic. He's so outwardly open about all of the movements and potential movements that are going to happen in his organization that these young kids, Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, their names are being put up everywhere. We actually have documented proof of these trade offers going on. Two problems. No one wants to help out the Lakers, including New Orleans. They don't want to send them Anthony Davis. They don't want to do any favors for one of the most storied franchises. And you basically forfeit the rest of the year because you're telling all these young guys who were told their whole lives that they're special, listen, dude, you're interchangeable, especially in the NBA. Doesn't matter how loud your dad is, you can be traded at a moment's notice. This is not a well-run organization. Fact, I would say it's the second best well-run organization in the city, let alone the entire nation.
Right, and I mean the thing about the trades being public is every trade deadline, trades are made public whether they go through or not, and stars are disgruntled or upset that they may be on the trading block. Like I heard a report per Adrian Wojciechowski, and he said that everyone in the Lakers locker room right now is disgruntled because of trade rumors,
Yeah.
except for LeBron James and Rajon Rondo. So that just speaks to the veteran guys that have been through trade deadlines time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to the level of maturity. Now, everywhere there's going to be trades. Trades just happen. It's a business. It's free agency is a business, and
Sure.
people get too disgruntled about what may happen or what happens or rumors that go on that the media tends to blow up.
But there's a difference between rumors and when was the last time? I mean, I saw this a couple days ago on Instagram. You pull it up, and literally ESPN, big picture, names, pictures, this team to this team. All of these guys for LA potentially getting traded for one Anthony Davis. And it was out on Instagram. When was the last time that you've truly seen an entire trade debate published to the entire world?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably on purpose, though. They probably, Magic, wanting this recognition, sending this signal to the other team, saying, hey, this is what we're willing to get rid of.
To get a
when-
superstar.
Exactly. Which I don't blame Anthony Davis for holding out. I don't blame the Pelicans for
Well,
holding out.
it's not necessarily AD's choice either.
Right. I get that.
Right.
I'm saying I like the Pelicans' decision in this case. Sure. Could you get a decent supporting cast and a little bit of depth if you traded with the Lakers right now?
It's all the future
Sure.
assets, dude. That's what they were offering up. It's practically the whole team.
Yeah.
Right.
But think about it this way. You wait and hold off till the summer, all of the major superstars, their contracts are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So why not wait till then, make the better deals then, and you have a better deal for probably not only you, but maybe for another team. You never know. That's the beauty of these summer deals, is you wait till the contracts are over, and then you see what you can rack in. Could be even better.
And you have to feel bad. I mean, to some extent, you feel bad for New Orleans. Right? No one wants to help out the Lakers. No one wants to help out, the guy in high school that was the quarterback and had the hot girlfriend. Everyone's sick of him. He's the guy that's been the face of the school, the face of the class, the face of everything. No one wants to help him out. Everyone wants to let LeBron age a little bit more before they're like, okay, here you go. You can have this. You can have that.
Right, and at the same time, which is funny because you mentioned that Anthony Davis didn't really have a say, but if you look at the comments that he's made and his dad has made, he's only looking at 3 or 4 teams realistically that he would be traded to. He'd still become a free agent. So he has the decision to sign a long-term deal with that team. And he said that the Knicks and the Lakers are the primary teams that he would see himself signing with long-term if he were traded.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was traded to, say, Boston, who knows if he is going to sign a long-term deal to stay there permanently. So he does have control.
And coming up in just a little bit, it'll be later on in the segment, we'll give our other broadcast buddy, Zach Cantalice, a call. He's actually of the mindset that Anthony Davis could end up in Boston next year, which would be interesting. I think there might be a possibility there. He thinks Jason Tatum might be part of a trade to end up acquiring Anthony Davis. Realistically, I think he will end up in LA.
I think the problem with the Boston thing is that he has not released a statement saying that he would love to re-sign in Boston. His dad doesn't like them, and he honestly cut them out of his list of teams he would love to play for.
He said directly, he goes, he's not going to play in Boston.
Right.
Is what his dad said.
And
I realize that's just his dad, but I mean, I'm assuming his father would have some inside information that maybe we don't have.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know.
That's an interesting case because, say my dad and I get drafted. If my dad was to go and do what LeVar Ball's doing, no one would even listen to the guy, let alone, give him any clout or put him on ESPN or anything. So it's an interesting situation how LeVar is even getting himself known at this point, or even when this all began. I get he played in the league, but...
Wait, who are you talking about?
LeVar Ball.
LeVar? LeVar
Yeah.
didn't play in the league.
No.
Didn't he say something
He
about
averaged
that?
I think he averaged 2 points at
2
UCLA.
points and
Oh, that's right. I was at UCLA. I'm sorry.
The other league.
and we're talking about
the
we're talking about
Dallas
Anthony.
Mavericks.
NCAA. Haha.
We're talking about Anthony Davis's father.
Anthony Davis's father?
Yes.
Yeah, not LeVar Ball. Hey, but it's been a long day. Everybody, it's been a long day. It's Luke
It's
is
okay.
losing it over here.
It's okay.
He's ready to run out of the room screaming.
We forgive you.
Maybe, I don't know about that.
If we had a dunce cap, he'd most definitely be
Yeah,
wearing
man,
it.
we didn't even get to dunce of the day yet, and you're already the dunce of the day. Like we didn't even. How far are we in? Like 5 minutes?
Like 15.
Okay, all right, never mind. It's been a lot longer.
All that to say, the Lakers struck out on a deal, making Magic look the fool. However, the summer's coming up, and they're already looking toward signing big names like Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson.
What is your favorite deal from this entire trade? Because I mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking with Zach.
Yeah.
I like Tobias Harris to the 76ers. I think the reason why I like it is because now you have 2 3-point threats in a league that has proven to be a 3-point shooting league.
Yeah.
The best teams at shooting threes will get the farthest.
Right.
I think that allows Jimmy Butler to be more dynamic in his scoring,
Right.
while Tobias Harris and J.J. Redick can spot up on the 3-point line. I think that really kind of makes Philadelphia one of the premier locations in that conference now.
Yeah, no, it is a great trade for them. Mainly because it allows Jimmy Butler to handle the ball a little bit more. Him and Ben Simmons can kind of bring the ball up the floor, and then it allows them to spread it to the wing for Tobias and J.J. Redick. You know, that's a great thing to have, especially in the fast break.
Right.
Every one of those guys is comfortable in the fast break, especially Ben Simmons, and now you have Joel Embiid, who's one of those new age centers who can handle the ball well
Not
through
a
the fast
back-to-the-basket
break.
guy.
Yeah, exactly,
It's
and he
all-
can handle the ball, which
it's-
is the biggest thing.
Right. It's all about fit. In any winning situation, it's all about fit. And
Right.
Tobias Harris isn't a ball-dominant guy, so that would allow him to do what he does best, which is shoot threes.
Right. Right, and just score the ball. I mean, he does. He's like a. I'm not going to compare him to Klay Thompson because Klay Thompson's leaps and bounds
Yeah.
better.
You're right.
However, he is a Klay Thompson type. I don't need the ball, but I'm going to put up a significant amount of points each night.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good defender. So I mean that team is their whole starting lineup can play great defense. So I think that's even a better asset than his scoring is offensively, which is saying something.
Kind of one of the local stories going on here. Saw this morning. Stan Van Gundy tried to make multiple moves to ship Andre Drummond out of the city of Detroit. The only reason other teams wouldn't take it, or other teams weren't interested, and currently aren't interested, is because no one wants to pay $22 million for a rebound.
Right.
And let's get something straight. Andre Drummond does not have the maturity to be an all-time player in the NBA.
Yep.
He's at more clubs. He's at more college parties in the off-season than he is in the gym getting better, trying to win championships. Everybody says Andre Drummond's a great talent. Okay, I get that. He's not special. So it's no surprise that no one wants Andre Drummond. But if I'm the Detroit Pistons, when that contract is up, you part ways and you don't look back. But it's just really no surprise when I look at this deal that no one else wants Andre Drummond. I've been saying this all along. People have always been giving me side-eye. Whoa. He's good. I mean, what? What?
Which he is. He's a great rebounder.
He's a great rebounder.
And defender.
But he's a back-to-the-basket guy.
Exactly.
And he's a liability
Yes.
in all senses of the word.
Right. He's worked through injuries. Just sometimes he has trouble scoring. It's just he's a back-to-the-basket old type center that this NBA is kind of moving away from.
Right.
And the last guy that you can kind of tell is an old type center that is successful is DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
But he's on a team with all All-Stars.
And
So it doesn't
DeMarcus
matter.
Cousins can still shoot threes.
Right.
DeMarcus Cousins can still hit his free throws.
True.
Okay, Andre Drummond improved on his free throw shooting. He's still right around 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, what? That's supposed to be an improvement?
Right.
I mean, the only big guy that I think is acceptable that doesn't shoot free throws particularly well is DeAndre Jordan.
Well, actually, if you look at his stats, he's increased his free throw percentage to over 70% this year for the first time in his career. So he's upped his free throw percentage by like 12 or 14% just from last season. So he's making leaps and bounds in that particular area.
Old man making moves.
You did ask my favorite move in this trade deadline, and it was actually a shocking pick by my part.
Mm-hmm.
And I did love the Marc Gasol trade, the Raptors getting them to round out their lineup. However, I chose Nikola Mirotic going to the Bucks. He was on the Pelicans, and the Bucks sent Stanley Johnson and Jason Smith to the Pelicans to get Nikola Mirotic. Another shooter, spot-up shooter. He's a liability on defense, but it's another shooter to create depth for that Bucks team who's already so talented with Giannis and Chris Middleton.
And you don't need another inside finisher, too.
No, you don't.
Giannis is the greatest inside finisher in the NBA at the current moment.
Exactly.
So you allow for him to have that kind of shooter to, if they do jam the inside, to kick out. And let me be very clear about this. I think Giannis has the most pressure of any NBA player in the league right now on him to perform.
Right.
If they're going to do 60 minutes, if he's going to be on 60 minutes and they're going to be doing segments about this kid and how talented he is, you got to win the East.
Right. Exactly.
That's just the way it goes.
Exactly. And with all that pressure coming, he looks like he can perform under it. I mean, he just dropped 43 points last night or 2 nights ago. That's a great performance from a guy with all that pressure in a low budget team in the Bucks.
And 3 for 3 from three-point land too. I didn't know he shot threes.
The guy can shoot pretty decently. He's working on it, but the biggest story out of there is all the depth they have. They have Tony Snell, who's coming off the bench. They have Brook Lopez. They managed to ship out Tony Snell, and now it's obvious that Brook Lopez is going to be their starting center. And the guy's shooting unbelievably well from three-point land this year, which no one knew he could do.
Right.
So this team is young, they're great, and they just got another outside scorer. So in my opinion, I love the Bucks. I love what they're doing. They went from zero to hero, and I really like this trade.
All right. When we come back, we're going to call in Zach Cantalice, get his opinion on some of the NBA trades going around. We'll also touch on the Super Bowl. Cornerstone men's basketball looking a lot better with their new piece that they just added in Brent Hibbets. And then we'll finish it off with our new segment that we got going on called Dunce of the Day. Stick around. All that coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Nate Wengler from the Nest Podcast. And listen, if you like professional sports and you love Cornerstone Sports, you're going to love what we have to offer on our podcast. Interviews, guest speakers, we break it all down for you. Every single top story from either around the community or around the nation. If you want to listen, make sure you subscribe at The Nest Podcast at YouTube. Again, that's The Nest Podcast, or on Twitter at The Nest GR. We're coming at you with a bunch of new content. You're not going to want to miss it. And we welcome you back to The Nest Podcast. You are in The Nest. Great day to be Golden Eagle. Nate Wengler, Tim McTighe now joining us on the podcast, and Luke Schrock. Ian Kauffman had to dash. But before we get to anything Super Bowl related, we got one of our nearest and dearest broadcasting buddies to join us to talk about what he thinks about some of the recent NBA moves, and he's joining us right now, Zach Cantalice. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, Nate. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, I mean, you're an NBA guy through and through. You talk about it all the time. You update me on situations that I have no idea are going on at some points. But what is your favorite, at least from these recent trade moves, what's your favorite move and why?
I think I'm going to go with the Tobias Harris trade, and it's for more than just Tobias. You know, on paper, Tobias looks good. You know, I think there could be issues there due to Jimmy Butler and Embiid wanting bigger roles. But on paper, Tobias looks good to the Sixers. But it's what the Clippers are doing that's really amazing me, you know. They're about the 8th seed in the West right now. They know, let's all be real, The Warriors are winning a championship again.
Mm-hmm.
They look unstoppable with Boogie back. So what do the Clippers do? Well, knowing the Celtics own their pick, if it's a lottery pick, they jump, or if it's out of the lottery, the Celtics own it. So what do? They get rid of their star. They add Landry Shamet, who many people probably don't know. This kid is a rookie from Wichita State and is the 25th best three-point shooter in the entire league.
Yeah.
As a rookie, averaging 8-1-1, not impressive, but it's off the bench. 25th in the league is awesome. He's going to be big for them. And then 2 first-round picks to go with it. I think that's amazing. The Clippers are going to own their first-round pick now as they're not going to be in the playoffs. They're going to get a first-round pick. They've got 2 max spaces this offseason. They're aiming for Kawhi and Durant with the max spaces. You got young players around them in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got Jerome Robinson, who's a first-round pick. They've locked up Montrezl Harrell. They've traded for Zubac from the Lakers. I mean, the Clippers are lining up to be big. They have money to spend, and they are looking to make moves. And this is all with Jerry West helping out over there. He is a genius, and he's building the Clippers to be huge this offseason with young players like Shamet, Gilgeous-Alexander, Montrezl Harrell. These are all cheap young guys on rookie deals. But besides Harrell, he's making about $6 million a year. The Clippers are lining up to do something big and have a lottery pick in this upcoming draft.
Well, and we talked about, we talked a little bit about Anthony Davis. Now, it's clear to me that he's not going anywhere today. But you look forward to the offseason. You were of the mindset a little bit earlier, and you told me this, that he could potentially become a Celtic. Now, Ian and I a little bit earlier talked about this. I think he's going to end up in L.A. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Ian was a little bit more reserved in the way that he thought about that. What is your opinion? Why do you think he could be a Celtic, and ultimately, where do you think AD is going to end up? Because he's not going back to New Orleans. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Where is AD going to end up next year?
So, look, AD is going to finish the season at Pelican. It's come out. It's happening. He's going to play for them. It's going to be fun. It keeps the NBA a little more fun.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The reason I think he's going to the Celtics, and really the reports are, we've all heard the Lakers deal. It's, at this point, the last offer was Lonzo, Kuzma, Ingram, Hart, Zubac, who's now not even a Laker, and multiple first-round picks to go with Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo. And on top of it, the Lakers were getting really willing, and we're going to take Solomon Hill in the deal, who's making $12 million off the bench with a player option next season. Solomon Hill's a decent player. He's not a $12 million man, by no means.
Right.
So they were willing to do a lot. There's one name that caused the Pelicans to hold up. That's Jason Tatum. The Celtics have apparently put on the table and had deep talks about this offseason, saying to the Pelicans, hey, if you hold out, we'll talk Tatum with you for AD. The deal would look like, what I'm hearing, it's going to be Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and Al Horford to balance out the financial contract, and it would be AD to the Celtics. Now, honestly, I don't see it happening. I see
As a
Danny
fan,
Ainge being
as a fan,
fan,
would you like to see something like that take place?
if Jason Tatum is not a part of it, I'd love to see it. If it's Jaylen Brown, I love Jaylen Brown. But if it's Brown, Smart, and all them, I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with giving up a 20-year-old averaging 17 and about to go off. I think Jason
do admit
Tatum's
that
a
it would
star.
probably take a Jason Tatum level player just to get AD to the city.
Well, let's think about it. The Pelicans were already holding out just due to, the NBA telling them, don't give in. There's been a lot of reports lately that the Pelicans were being told, or the Pelicans GM, Dunce, was being told, by the league, don't do this. We can't let the agents own this league, because we've seen it happen. Kawhi has done it. Jimmy Butler's done it twice. The agents are really taking over and controlling the situation. So it was a first, put your foot down and show the executive still owns it. But the second thing was the Pelicans owner told him, don't do it or I'll fire you. Right. That's the reports I'm hearing. And I simply think if you're getting offered 4 guys who've been first-round picks, I think Josh Hart is electric, good three-point shooter. Lonzo's a decent all-around player. Ingram's got the length and the body there. And Kuzma's a good player. But 4 young players under contract, and you're holding out because one man you think could be better than all 4.
I definitely think the players are starting to run the association more than the executives. So we'll see what happens. Zach Cantalice, thanks, buddy, for joining us. When we come back here in just a little bit, we'll get to Super Bowl talk and our new segment called Dunce of the Day. Again, we'll be right back in just a second. Zach, thanks, bud.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Nate Wengler from the Nest Podcast. And listen, if you like professional sports and you love Cornerstone Sports, you're going to love what we have to offer on our podcast. Interviews, guest speakers, we break it all down for you. Every single top story from either around the community or around the nation. If you want to listen, make sure you subscribe at The Nest Podcast at YouTube. Again, that's The Nest Podcast, or on Twitter at The Nest GR. We're coming at you with a bunch of new content. You're not going to want to miss it. What up, what up? You're back inside the Nest. Nate Wengler, Tim McTighe, Luke Schrock, and I actually forgot one of my buddies in this discussion.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
He was the guy who put the headset on and then got ignored that whole time. So, Tim, you got a favorite trade that just recently happened. Break it down for us. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I had to agree with Zach Cantalice. I really like the Tobias Harris trade. You know, the Philadelphia 76ers needed depth, and they got it. You know, I've always thought of Tobias Harris as a very underrated player. You know, everyone just kind of looked away from the Clippers ever since Blake Griffin and Chris Paul ran out of town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Clippers are trading for the future, and, you know, as we've said earlier, you know, they're going to be a very strong team, especially if they get big guys like Kevin Durant. And let's just hope they make it past the second round.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, what I like about that, and I said this a little bit earlier, the thing about acquiring Tobias Harris is you add a second deep ball threat in the city of Philadelphia. Embiid ain't taking threes, maybe every now and again. Jimmy Butler is an all-around scorer. Now you have two guys that can really post up and hit those deep balls. You're adding pieces to the puzzle. That's why I like Philly in this trade. So there was a big game last Sunday. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called the Super Bowl. And apparently everyone thought it was the most boring game in the world. Thing is about the Super Bowl and championship games, it's kind of like church during Christmas. Everybody who's not normally there shows up because they want a show.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about the pizzazz, it's all about the tradition of it. Everyone said that was a boring game. I thought it was magnificent. Oh, it's so boring, I can't watch. Well, it's still on the TV. Why haven't you switched the TV? If it's so boring, why is it still on the television? You had a tied game in the fourth quarter, whether it was 0-0 or 50-50. If you wanted to go watch a blowout, watch the college football playoffs.
Oh, Lord.
If you want to watch a blowout, watch the NBA Finals.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to watch a blowout, watch March Madness, the national championship game. Michigan got creamed by Villanova. Somehow I fail to understand why sports fans are like, oh, it was so boring. It was tied in the fourth quarter.
You know, I was one of those people at first, too. But then I got to thinking, you know, it was a defensive game. Sure, the offense was sloppy, but that was because of good defense. You don't get Tom Brady making interestingly weird pass choices or spiking the ball without a D-line coming right at you, kicking you out of your comfort zone. And we were talking about this right before, or in our segment before the Super Bowl. The only way to beat Tom Brady is not to go for the sack, but to get him out of his 1-2-3 throw,
Right.
out of his quick
Muck
release.
it up.
Exactly. So it was a defensive game, and let's face it, your typical fan doesn't appreciate defense as much.
Right.
They don't appreciate the intricacies of the game that, like, say, we do.
Or the duality of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just got to say, you know, I'm tired of these babies complaining because the Super Bowl is the most rated television, or the most TV, like, it's the highest rated
Right.
show,
Right.
I guess you
I
can
get
say.
where you're going, yeah.
Yeah, I just worded that weird. But, you know, there is a saying, back to what you were saying, Luke, that, the best defense is the best offense. This is literally why the Seahawks blew out the Broncos a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 48. That was a boring game. The Seahawks had it in the bag after the first quarter. That's a boring game.
Right.
I want to see a game where it's relatively competitive.
Yeah.
Just like the NBA playoffs, I think it was 2017, the Warriors won a 16-1.
Yeah.
They won it 16-1. That's boring. And every single game, almost every single game, was a blowout.
Yeah, I agree.
And, this was the lowest rated Super Bowl, and I'll give you that. And I think there's other reasons why it was. But, the commercials were just meh. Like, they were just like, there were a few funny ones. My favorite one was when they were all around that ballroom and they were throwing the golden football around, and Odom Beckham Jr. makes
Yeah,
his
the NFL 100
signature catch.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was awesome.
What?
But it was, it wasn't the worst, because I've seen worse.
Right.
You know.
What amazed me about it was, for the first time in recent Super Bowl history, it wasn't about the high-powered offensive guys. It wasn't about the quarterback and the running back. This game was about a couple things that we don't normally appreciate in the sport of football. Defense. The only time we want defense is if we're the one cheering for the team and it gets us the ball back so we can go make some magical scores. Defense. Punters. Everyone was asking, can you give a punter an MVP? As funny and as ironic, as weird as that is, the punters were outstanding in that football game.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding in that football game. And you want to know who, in my mind, gets Super Bowl MVP if only you had 5 of them to hand out. The Patriots' offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
1 sack the entire NFL playoffs.
Yep.
1 sack. And that was against a Rams team with the meanest SOBs you've ever seen on a defensive line. 1 sack. I don't care how many times he was pressured. I don't care about the little stupid touch on the head that they got the flag for. One time that guy was touched.
I agree. There's 2 things that people don't get a lot of appreciation for. That's your special teams, and like you said, the punters, and your linemen. Like, you get some analysts talking about it once in a while, but on the large scale of things, on a grand scale, they really don't get talked about that much. You hear about the Tom Brady's, the quarterbacks, the running backs, the offensive
That's just
producers.
how football goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't really talk about the supporting cast. Punters, kickers are so underrated, under-talked about. And it's just all those little key components that come out with your whole entire game. And I remember hearing this. I remember there was a punting record that happened. I don't remember what it was, though. If you guys could help me out on this, that'd be great.
Longest punt.
Longest punt. There we go.
Yeah.
So not only was the punting game great, but they were able to leave a mark in history as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the Super Bowl last year where we had literally the greatest offenses fighting against each other that the league has ever seen, literally the most passing yards the league has ever seen. And, it just goes to show, back to what you were saying, Luke, people don't look at the punter. They look at the quarterback. They look at Tom Brady and Jared Goff, who I got to get out of the way real quick. He's overrated. And he was very overhyped by the media, because I think it's just mainly because everyone wanted the Patriots to lose. And last year, it was so much more hype because the Patriots lost.
You got to understand, though, his favorite target in Cooper Kupp wasn't there. Take away any quarterback's favorite target, what happens? Your effectiveness goes away.
Useless.
And the biggest thing, you can get away with that with the older guys. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those dudes have been in the pocket for a long, long time. They can adjust. They see things, they recognize trends, they can adjust their game accordingly to whoever's around them. But these young quarterbacks, take away their pacifier, things happen. My biggest concern I don't know if you guys remember this last year when Bill Belichick took Malcolm Butler out of the lineup
Oh,
for the
yeah.
Super Bowl.
I remember that.
Everyone, I mean, blew up about it.
Even I
He had a
was.
couple, he had a couple bad games. Bill Belichick took him out, and everyone's like, "Whoa, why is that same storyline not smacking Sean McVay right now?" Let me make something clear to you guys. Sean McVay said Todd Gurley was healthy for the Super Bowl. Todd Gurley said Todd Gurley was healthy for the Super Bowl. He wasn't even on the injury list before the NFC Championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. Sean McVay said himself, he goes, "It was my poor decision making and my poor play calling that kept Gurley out of the game." So my question is, where in the hell was Todd Gurley in that game? Where was he?
I mean, like we all go back to earlier, I think he just got outnumbered. He was just the defense for the Patriots. Everyone overlooked the Patriots' defense since the beginning of this season. Was it because last year it was at its all-time worst? The Super Bowl, the defense has never been worse, and that raised a lot of questions going into the season, being like, oh gee, is it going to be the same thing, or is Bill Belichick going to learn from that? And despite the evil emperor he is to a lot of teams out in the league, I think he just got shut down. And, like the Rams, just as a whole, were just kind of useless. Like they just weren't, and we can be like, oh, they didn't deserve to be there. The Saints would have gave them a game and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, the Saints were doing the same exact thing the Rams were doing. They were called underachieving. They have one of the most talented offenses in the league, and they said at the very beginning of the season, this team is easily a Super Bowl contender. But then you look at the division, it's like, well, they're in kind of in a weak NFC West right now, and there are a lot of injuries, and Jared Goff is just a mediocre quarterback. I don't think they will, but they might. But going back to, I believe, was it week 15, the Rams played the Bears, and they did the same thing. They only kicked a field goal. So I felt like when Jared Goff was tested very hard defensively, he was useless.
Well, and think about it this way, too. The Rams only had, I believe it was either 35 or 45 total rushing yards that entire game. Was that because Todd Gurley wasn't there? Maybe.
I would say so.
But think about it this way. In
It's like
order to stop a running game, you have to have a defense that's knowledgeable enough to do it. So even if you did have Gurley in there, I get that he's a game changer. But would that have truly been the case? He could have been stopped just like anybody else on that roster.
Oh, yeah.
You never know. And we'll probably never know.
I
don't think Nate likes what you say, Luke.
That's okay. That's okay. We all have our opinions.
Yeah.
He could have been stopped. You never know.
That's the beautiful thing about sports is that everyone has their own
Coulda,
opinions, and you can shut up about it.
Okay, let's not go to that part.
I don't like hypotheticals. I guess I don't like it could have happened. A lot of things could have happened. I could have won the lottery last week. If I scratched off the right letters or the right numbers or whatever. I don't normally play the
Even
lottery,
though it's
but
entirely based on luck, but
right.
It's a good
Yeah, it's entirely based on luck.
Yeah.
But if I was a betting man, and I'm one of the best running backs the entire league has to offer, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, there is the side of things that you go, okay, so what about his emotional state? Let's not pretend that injuries don't weigh on you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Even minor injuries. I never broke a bone or sprained or pulled or twisted. I never had any of those when I was playing any sort of sport. But I did have concussions. And every time I got another one, it was like, now my chances of getting another injury are far worse, and it could be far more detrimental this time around. So the other thing is, if both guys are saying he was healthy, I mean, guys, for cripe's sake, there's dudes that have played with severed fingers in the Super Bowl. Literally fingers off their hand. And you're telling me because Todd Gurley had a little bit of knee irritation, it kept him out of the football game, and it wouldn't have made much of a difference if he was in. Now, here's the thing. I think you're right. I think maybe he would have been stopped, but it wouldn't have been because of his physical ability. It would because mentally he was not prepared to come back into the football game.
Now, what I would like to know is how involved in practice was he? If he was, like, you know how most injuries go, when they're
Mhm.
getting back, just getting back, they're slowly worked back into practice so that they know that they can perform in a game.
Mm-hmm.
If he was given limited reps in practice, that might be another component to this. And I know you don't like hypotheticals. I don't like talking in hypotheticals.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're figuring out why he wasn't in, these are some necessary things you have to think through. Maybe they were trying to plan their strategy around Gurley with limited snaps. You never know. Or limited reps.
When did that ever work during the regular season, though?
Yeah.
True.
I mean, Todd Gurley got them to the place that they were coming into the postseason. I mean,
I agree.
you know,
Yeah. I mean,
it's like okay, let's pray. You know, let's have LeBron carry us to the playoffs, and then we'll just play LeBron a little bit in the finals. Let's try to scheme with LeBron just barely in the lineup.
That's a different hypothetical, though. He is still out right now, but he's coming back from an injury. I get that people's played with worse in a Super Bowl or a regular game, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think about it this way. If he wasn't in the prep for that week, then why would they all of a sudden say, okay, Todd, get out there and go ahead. You've taken maybe 2 rushes in practice to prepare for this.
Well, he's still. I mean,
Get it.
You're right, but he's still on the team.
Yeah.
He's still surrounded. It's still the same. I would say roughly the same play calling. I don't know, but I don't know.
yeah, I just don't know either. I honestly think he just got shut down. Like it's
Could've
almost
been.
that simple. When star players get shut down, that leaves a gaping hole in their lineup, and yeah, that's
Could've
what
been.
Gotta
caused
try
them
something
only
else.
3 points on the board. And now that the football season is over, all the way until August, September, October, it's you got to kind of think, are the Rams going to stay together?
Mm-hmm.
Like again, like it's just they got a lot of
Remember
things
the
to
last
deal
team
with.
that lost to the Patriots didn't even make it back to the playoffs next year.
Oh yeah, because they blew
Atlanta
a 25
Falcons.
point lead.
Yep.
And caused one of the most catastrophic failures in Super Bowl history.
Yep.
Probably the most catastrophic failure in Super Bowl history. But again, it's just I think it is mainly about mentality. I think the Patriots mainly just got in their heads.
So the Patriots end up winning this game 13-3. We all made predictions about it on our last podcast. I would like to rub it in all of your faces that I was the one who said it would come down to a field goal deciding it and that the Patriots would win, and both of those things happened. You're welcome. You can consider me Aristotle or what? He was a pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, I do want to say something about Tom Brady because he has done this in almost every Super Bowl ever. The game has came down to the wire.
Game-winning drive.
Yeah. He has a game-winning drive literally
Every single
game.
one. Yep.
I mean, except last year, but I mean, he had one that was a potential game-winning drive, and then the Eagles went upfield and scored another touchdown. But he does it every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the Tom Brady haters? Like seriously, I know he wins.
They're still out there.
I know he
He's
wins.
a system
I know
quarterback.
he's annoying. I know he's griping the AFC East, but it's like you can't argue with that. You just can't.
LeBron
and now
leaves
he's
the
going to
East,
get
all
the
of a sudden
sixth.
the East becomes a premier conference.
Yeah,
you
now
know?
he's got the 6th ring. Is going to snap half the universe to death for all you Marvel fans out there. But it's
No
just
one knows
amazing
what
how
you're
he's
referencing.
done this.
I think everybody does, honestly.
Yeah, I think Infinity War is big enough for
Oh, yeah.
people to know the reference at least.
Easily.
But it's just amazing how he's done it literally every single Super Bowl,
Right.
and people just don't necessarily talk about it.
So Tim predicted Patriots. He got that right. I predicted Patriots. Got it right. Luke predicted Patriots. Got it right. The one dissenter was Ian Kauffman, who predicted that the Rams were going to win. And now that brings us to our new segment called Dunce of the Day. And so what Dunce of the Day is essentially we take the loser of the bet. It could be a big game, big situation, big whatever it is, and we get to decide exactly what that person gets to wear to school the next day. So, with this paper in front of me and the pen I have, we're going to take some ideas. First, a little bit of background information on Ian. He is a major, big-time Chicago sports fan, big-time Michigan State fan. That makes any difference to you?
Yeah, doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my mind, but all
Yeah.
right.
It doesn't.
Mine makes less sense. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Luke, you're just a bandwagon. That's all.
So
it is.
I'm thinking, just from knowing Ian, so he has a longer curly hair. So I'm thinking either braids, or cornrows, or straightens his hair.
cornrows.
I am so in for straightening the hair.
Straighten. That would look so. I've never seen him.
I
with
actually
straight
would
hair.
want to see that. Yeah, you know what?
I
I was gonna
kinda
do
do.
cornrows, but you know what? Let's do straight hair.
All right. So we'll go
man.
straighten hair. I'm putting shades. I'm gonna have him wear some shades. He's gonna have this giant Michigan hockey jersey that I have. He's gonna have to wear it.
Ooh, jean shorts.
Jean shorts, extra short jean shorts.
When is the
Extra
last time someone has worn
short
jean shorts?
Hey, I saw
Jean.
Grant wearing some. The guy that lives right next to me in my dorm, he wore jean shorts all last fall. So
All right.
It's just weird.
He has to
It's a weird
tuck
thing to wear.
the Michigan jersey into his jean shorts,
Oh Lord.
I agree with that.
and he has to wear, like one on his feet.
How about some flip flops with no? Got it.
Crocs.
Socks with sandals.
I like Crocs.
Crocs.
I
yes.
love that idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do Crocs.
Crocs with high socks.
Oh God.
All the way up to the knee.
High.
No lower.
I don't know if anyone has knee
Yeah,
socks.
I think
That's
as long
true.
as it's
Except for your
halfway up the leg, it's fine.
grandfather. Yeah.
That's fair.
All right. So straightened hair, shades, giant Michigan jersey tucked into his extra short jean shorts with high socks and Crocs.
High
love
socks and Crocs.
I love
And
it.
that is our dunce of the day. Ian, give him a.
He's not here right now, but
Yeah, you conveniently
All right.
bounced earlier.
We'll get him pictures. Get pictures of him up as soon as we can. So that'll conclude our podcast today. I know we didn't do a local segment, but we'll make sure to touch on that here in our coming up episode. Again, for more information, make sure you subscribe right here on our page, The Nest Podcast on YouTube, or check us out on Twitter at The Nest GR. Again, from Nate Wangler, Luke Schrock, and Tim McTighe, we're signing off. Have yourself a very Golden Eagle day.